Yesterday we went live, and we'll post a link below, showing you the difference between Fairy Chalk Mother paint, Sweet Pickins milk paint, and DIY paint. Today we're going to show you how to distress them and seal them with oil wax.
So first off, we're going to take it outside and do the orbital sanding, just probably on the flat surface on the top. The rest of it will hand sand, as Jamie likes to call it, discretionary hand sanding, where we didn't get full coverage to blend that in. We could do a third coat on here, but since we're distressing, it's not going to matter that much. All of the paint, including the milk paint, is sticking really well. So we're gonna go at it with some sandpaper, 220 grit. You could wet distress this one if you wanted to. We might a little at the end. Probably don't wet distress the milk paint unless you're not worried about reactivating it and making that chip a lot, because that could happen. And then this probably won't wet distress as well, just because of the type of paint it is, so sander it is.
What I'm trying to do now is smooth out brush strokes, and then anywhere where maybe I didn't get full coverage, I'm just gonna distress, and that'll be an area where the underneath peeks through. And sometimes I take my sander and I go the opposite direction of my brush strokes, and that will powder and smooth off the paint so it's less streaky. So we're gonna pour out the oil wax. I'll do about half of this, and then we'll see how much more. And then we're gonna brush it on with chip brushes. I use chip brushes because I do not save them. I just put them in a bag, and then every couple of days I just throw them away. So we're gonna brush this on, let it sit and penetrate for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll buff it off. Okay, so this is a sample size of oil wax, and hopefully it will tie the look together of these pieces. And it works on not just milk paint, but you can use it on any matte chalky finish. So we're using the oil wax on all of the pieces. Don't freak out, it'll lighten way up. This is the oil wax in black. You wanna make sure that you get it all over so that way you get an even finish. So apply evenly and liberally. This will also not only give it a dark look, but this is the final sealer.
I don't know if you can see it, but we used that much oil wax. It's right there to that line, and that got full coverage on all of these. So if you're sitting at home and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, they ruined these tables. Look at how gross and nasty they look now. You would not be alone, because the first time Jamie used the dark oil wax, all I could think of was, girl, you ruined that dresser. That's all I could think. But as I start wiping it back here, you'll start to see it'll sit down in all the fun little cracks and details, and it's gonna look awesome. So these have been sitting about 15 minutes, absorbing down in. Once you get it buffed and dry so that you can run your hand over it, you're gonna wanna let that sit for about 24 hours, and then you can come back in and buff it to a real high sheen. Or you can leave it flat. It doesn't matter. Both are durable sealers. It just depends on the look you want. So when I'm all done and this rag is all saturated, I'll probably come back over with another clean rag and get off any excess that was left over. You can see as I wipe this oil wax off, this is the milk paint in purple posies. It just kind of deepens the color and leaves a little black down in all the little cracks. And this is the Fairy Chalk Mother in Ballet. You can see my rag starting to get a little saturated. When I come back through with the other rag, the cleaner one, it'll really pull all the excess off. Okay, so I've got my clean rag. Both were dry when I started out. This one's dry as well as the rag I first started with. And I'm just going to make sure that all the excess is off so that it's not greasy and oily to the touch. And then after it dries, you give it one more wipe after you let it sit for about 24 hours. And that's when you can really buff it and shine it down. This is just wiping it down. I'm not ready to buff it just yet. All right, so I wanted to give you guys kind of a pro tip. You see right here, it's a little splotchy. I can't get that to come off with the rag. It's either sat on there or the paint wasn't quite dry and absorbed it. So what I've got is I've just got some DIY clear wax, and I'm gonna go over the top and work that into the cracks and the pores of the paint. And before it dries or sets, I'm not gonna wait at all. I'm just gonna use this to pull back the oil wax. And they play nice together, so the finish will still be really nice when we're done and real smooth and just like a wax finish. So, and that'll even that out. And if it's still not quite how I want it, I can go back again. But that's gonna really help reduce the splotchiness of it. If you've got a spot that's just too dark and you just don't like it, hit it with some clear wax, and before that sets in and dries, go right back over it. So the nesting tables turned out awesome. To catch the first part of this video where we explain the differences between the 3 paints that we carry at jamirayvintage.com, you can find that video in the link below.
We used Fairy Chalk Mother's Ballet, Sweet Pickins Purple Posies, and DIY Paints Apothecary. All of them are sealed with Sweet Pickins oil wax in black, and then we used clear wax to pull off some of the black wax where it was just a little bit too dark and splotchy. You can pick up those products at jamiray.vintage.com. We realized, Zeb realized after working on this, that the oil wax does work best on the milk paint, but it can actually be used on any chalky finish. Just know that lighter colors are gonna absorb it really well, so have some clear wax handy to fix that. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.